gone thicker, so I just removed it. I needed less paint on my brush, so I removed the previous ones. At this stage you can go with a smaller brush, 0 size also, or 000 also. I'm painting a dark area with a light color. It will go darker. Because these are very thin lines, you can first practice on your rough sheet of paper to make S-like shapes or curvy shapes, and then you come over to do on your flower, because we don't want to spoil it. As far as possible, we want to make it really good. I'm looking at the reference image and seeing what areas can still go darker and placing my brush accordingly on the paper. Any area that has gone darker, I can place a mark or color in those regions. That is what I'm doing here. It is not a very wet brush I'm using. I've taken some more paint. This is Perylene Maroon which I have taken. You can take the same paint also. I'm carving out a boundary and going again on the shapes which I have just created some time back. Again wet on wet. I just put some clear water and then I'm putting the color. You can easily see the demarcation over here which is created between the wet area and the dry area. I'm putting in more color because this area is very dark and we can go darker. Now what I'm doing is, because I had put in a lot of water over here, I'm going over the dark area also. That means that area will become stronger in color. Secondly, the edge which was getting created as a result of water at one place and right above it we had a dry surface, that will mingle together. So there are thin lines which you can create. Again you can practice and then come over and do it on your main paper. You can watch this video in parts and as many times as you want. I'm basically doing the same thing, but I am not editing it at all. And yes, it takes time. So does anything nice. I'm looking at the image, looking at what color it has, the specific area where I'm painting, and taking my and with my brush taking that kind of color. If it is a very dark area, I can go slightly dark in the first few rounds and build that color in layers. Some of the areas I am going for the first time, and some of the areas I have already done 3 times. That is one base layer, and on top of that 2 more layers. Here I see it is very dark and If you notice the shapes, you can go on correctly over here because this area is still wet. So there will be a nice merge over here, merge of colors. I am only putting down the shapes. If you think you cannot do it straight away, always use your rough practice sheet. Keep it beside yourself. Do it once on there, and then you can do it on the main painting as well. I am repeating this and many of the other things because we have a tendency to just start doing a thing and get it done. Sometimes we need little more practice, which is what I learned the hard way. See, I'm building colors over here. I'm using a technique which is called stippling, which is making small longish marks very close to each other. Now those thin lines once again. If you see the reference image, this area is very dark. And because my previous layer has dried, I'm using another layering of color. Because the color is not equally spread everywhere, so I have tried to concentrate it where it is dominant, and where it is not, I have not painted using a lot of color over there. I mixed some more color. What we are now doing, this technique is called wet on dry. Previous layer has dried and we are using wet paint on it and creating the shape which is required of us as per the reference image. I have taken this flower because it will, if you do this flower, what will happen is your observation skills will improve, because in a very tiny area we see so many details and we have to put it down on the paper. So your observation skills will definitely improve if you do this. But try to do it chunk by chunk, not all in one go. Part by part. I have very less paint on my brush right now, and with this very less amount of paint, when you make these marks, which are I'm kind of dragging the brush, the belly of the brush on the paper. Also, if you can't make a certain brush stroke with having the paper at a certain angle, you can always change the position of your paper according to the angle that suits you, like for your hand movement. But take care that when you change the angle of the paper for an easier hand movement, you exactly need to change the reference image in that direction as well, so that you have your paper and the reference image in the same angle you want to paint from the reference image. That's why. I would have changed the angle of this paper, but right now I'm not doing it. You can even paint upside down, but you have to get your reference image also upside down if you're doing that. Yes, so this what I'm doing here is enhancing those lines with a darker color. I saw that here there is a darker edge from where I'm starting this area, and till the time that it comes down, it doesn't look as dark and it looks thinner also. That's why when I'm placing the stroke, I'm placing it right at the top and just brushing it quickly and not making a complete line with that. So you understood how we need to observe and how we need to put it down on the paper. One more thing is that try to have your hands clean and dry when you are starting with your painting. Sometimes there is oil on our hands and it gets stuck to the watercolor paper. We don't want that. When you are observing, if you are unable to decipher what exactly the shape is, do only as much what you can understand. That will give you the result. Or you can contact me, ask me on WhatsApp or on my Facebook, or you can email me. You have my phone number 9560039612. So that is also my WhatsApp number. You can send a picture of your drawing and the exact problem that you are facing. Here I am observing, looking at my reference image. I'm going slow with this flower, very slow. I'm not editing any part of it. This area I see is darker than what it is right now. So I'm adding a third layer of paint, I think, or a fourth, third or fourth. This technique is called layering. When you allow the previous layer to dry and then you, after that only you paint on it if required. Now because this blue, I'm using this blue over here because I need to go darker. That is what is my reference image is showing. You can choose different colors also. Now with a clean brush I am trying to remove some paint. I had just painted that area you saw, and with a clean brush I removed some paint. I can remove paint only when it is wet, and that area was not crisp. That's why I removed some of the paint. The reference image shows that this area also has pink along with violet and purple. So I'm using pink right now. If you see any other color, you can use that also. But just go as light or as dark as is required. And the best way to approach is to go from light to dark through this process which I am sharing with you, through this layering process. Allow previous layer to dry. Once it is dried, then go for the next layer. Yes, at this age the curve has declined quite a bit. There is a slight curve but not much.